How are we doing? Big sigh. Okay, get ready. So I have been called to do this video, the topic of this video, so many times, like so many times, and my ego just keeps coming in the way, and not because of the content of the video, but of the way that I think that it will be perceived. And it's making me not want to talk about it, because not because I feel like I'm going to be trolled or anything like that, but I want it to come across in such a positive way that I think that I'm putting far too much pressure on on the way that it's going to come out, and that's what's making me stop. So I'm gonna say that it's a giant trigger warning over this video on so many different levels. It's definitely an over 18 video. There will be talk of abuse, sexual abuse. There will be talk of sex. There will be talk of masturbation. There will be talk of sex in general. Yeah, so just all the way around that avenue. Yeah, that's what this video is about. And the reason why I have been led to talk about this is because I've actually been celibate now for over 2 years, and when I discuss it with people, they are incredibly shocked and they have lots of questions, but never really go forward and ask them, because obviously there's a lot of embarrassment on their part in regards to why, and a lot of preconceived notions as to why I've been celibate. And I feel very confident talking about it. I don't feel embarrassed in any way talking about it. And I feel like if there's a lot of people out there that I've been speaking to that have questions, then surely there's going to be other people out there in the wider world that have questions also. And I thought I've got my cards with me because my cards are going to help me tell a little bit of a story. But basically, my celibacy came from part of my healing journey. I was sexually abused when I was a child, and it led me to have very low self-esteem and no boundaries in regards to my body. And that means, and it mainly meant on the safety of my body. So from a very young age, I was very, very confident in putting myself in very, very dangerous situations. Because with the understanding that I know now, I felt if somebody else had that control over my body, then that meant that I had none. And I was in a permanent feeling unsafe about my body, and that my body didn't belong to me, and that there was nothing that I could say no to, or and my body didn't mean anything to me. And I know that's going to sound weird to some people, but others that I've spoken to in regards to abuse, they lock onto that feeling. I engaged in sex when I was underage in regards to the legal system. I was with a permanent partner for most of my teenage years, and I felt very safe in that connection. And he actually, it was a very safe relationship in regards to the sex and the way that we looked after our bodies, and it was incredibly liberating for me to have that kind of protection from a man who appreciated my body at such a young age. He was only a year older than me, and yeah, it was a very safe connection, and I am very, very lucky to have had that after such a turbulent, let's say, childhood. He made me feel incredibly safe, and he reinstalled trust in regards to my body. When that relationship actually ended, he it's going to sound like I did it on purpose, but it wasn't at all. It was just a complete reaction. He actually cheated on me in the very last stages of our relationship, and it sent me basically on a downward spiral. In retaliation to him, in retaliation to my body, and I basically just spiraled out of control. And basically the past just came back in the most horrendous way, and I was doing everything and anything as you do when you're 18, 20, and I became very unsafe. When I moved away to university, I put myself in so many horrendously dangerous situations. There was issues where date rape, drugs were involved, and times where I never knew how I got home or who I was with. And I feel like I've been saved so many times. So many times my angels and my guides were getting me out of the most horrendous situations that I'd got myself into. And this carried on until I settled down in long-term relationships. And it's weird because when I have in the past been in a relationship, I haven't felt like I've wanted to go elsewhere. I've always found that I can stay with one person. And I'm quite, well, I consider myself a loyal person, and that's one trait that I have always had. And when I really settled down in my early 20s and I wanted to start having children, I realised that the issues that I'd had when I was a child had had a bigger effect on me than what I had initially thought. And the sexual trauma from my childhood had actually caused damage to my body. And I don't mean that in a physical way at the time of the abuse. I mean the emotional trauma had caused physical problems within my body. This manifested as cysts on my ovaries, and I didn't know this at the time. So I went through over 10 years of trying to get pregnant. This caused just complete mayhem for my emotional, physical, spiritual, physical, everything health. I was a mess of a person, pleading with doctors and surgeons and whoever would speak to me to help me. I realised in embarking on my fertility treatment to have my little boy, and when I finally got sober enough for the fertility treatment, because I was researching so much and found so much information that had not been readily available to me before in regards to sexual abuse and trauma and sexual trauma, I started doing the work with my mind, with my body, leading up to me getting pregnant with my son, and continued it through my pregnancy. And then when I had my little boy, I literally just went hellfire for trying to heal my body from all this trauma that had happened to me since being a child, and it had just amplified over the years with me having picking the wrong partners and relationships that didn't work out, and lots of crap basically. And I made the decision after having my little boy that I was going to discipline myself and put all of my energy and all of my focus into healing myself from that sexual trauma from my childhood, so that I can continue the rest of my life being free, but finally exercising that demon, so to speak. And the way that I have been doing that is through forgiveness and through letting go and through rituals and meditations and visualizations, affirmations, all the shuns, but also doing lots of breath work and visualizing and lots of physical exercises, and with the food, with the way that I speak to myself, my dancing, and really embodying the female energy which would heal my womb. And I'm not going to get into the aspects of womb healing and all that sort of stuff on this video, because it's a very specialized thing, and I would like to do a separate video about that. This is more just an open-ended introduction into some of the stuff that I'm going to talk about on the channel, I just wanted to sort of put a bit of a bookmark in some of the pages of the things that we're not really allowed to talk about, the book of taboo, because celibacy has this connotation that someone who is celibate is somehow not liking sex, or doesn't want sex, or doesn't like pleasure, or any of those kind of things. And I want to debunk that kind of thinking, because it's not that case at all. And I speak so much to the ladies that I work with in regards to into pleasure. Now, pleasure for me is vast, is infinite. Pleasure to me, and the road to a climax, I'll say, is so many things. And I think that in the education to young people that are starting off in their sort of sexual journeys, and the way that we talk about sex and the way we talk about pleasure, because sex is a multitude of things. It's not just the actual act of having sex, which obviously has loads of different areas. Sex to me is a pleasurable experience, and I think if you're not getting pleasure from sex, then you're doing it wrong and you've been taught wrong. And I think in this kind of conversation, this is where we educate each other, and without having conversations with judgment attached, and open-ended conversations where there are loads of options and loads of opinions, that I feel like this is where the real healing in regards to sexual trauma comes from. Because when we're young, we're taught that it's so wrong to have sex, and to me it's literally the most natural thing on the planet. Like, my mum never discussed sex with me, but the way that we spoke about sex and sexual culture with each other, she was extremely liberating. Because like, my mum would say, like, prostitution is one of the oldest jobs in the world, and she would say things like, you know, you have to be very, you know, you're very lucky to be in a relationship, you know, and be getting that intimate connection with someone. Some people never ever get that. And this is from someone who was like an avid churchgoer. You know, my mum had this sort of like innovative way of knowing God, but through her own lenses, and she could have compassion for every soul on the planet. And I think that we could educate each other a little bit more openly with these kinds of conversations, because celibacy for me has been the most expanding experience of my whole entire life. I feel like when they say like your body is a temple, I feel like I feel that my body is more than that now. And that's not like an outside, I don't care whether anybody else on the planet believes that or accepts that. Like, that is my inside dialogue now. And my body means the absolute world to me, and that was my mission, because my body didn't mean anything to me before, and I treated it so badly because of how other people had treated this body. I accepted that was the way that I was meant to live my life, and I was meant to give my body to whoever wanted it. And this is going to sound so egotistical, but I've never struggled to have partners, sexual or otherwise, and I've always enjoyed sex very much. And because I understand that the pleasure comes from me, doesn't come from anywhere else. You can decide to have a good time, and you can decide to have a bad time. You know, if you can't pleasure yourself, and this is why I want to talk about masturbation in a positive way, because so many ladies say he doesn't do this and he doesn't do that and he's not doing that, and I'm like, why aren't you telling them? You know, like, even the closest of connections, you know, like, even if you have like almost like a telepathic connection with someone and you have great sex, you're still gonna have to guide them a little bit. You know, like, when you're in touch with yourself and in touch with your flow, then that is the best sex. And then obviously if you add someone else to that who is in their flow and who's confident and knows their body, then wowzers. And I think we expect so much of the other person to please us when it should be coming from us. The pleasure should always start with us, and our love language should be that we communicate that. It's really that simple. And and how can I say it? Celibacy has meant that my body has had a chance to heal. Like, when you look into the cells and the renewal and the just the biology of what is happening, you know, when you're just creating life on your own, I'm basically creating a new Gemma in this time. You know, like, it's like I can start again, and that feels absolutely amazing to me. I cannot put that into words, how pleasing and how triumphant, that's the word, that I feel that I've managed to do that. And also what I would like to suggest is that when we are flitting from one partner to another, we are not taking on the fact how much energy we are sharing with that person. Now, if you think about when you're around people that drain you and you're just sitting next to them or having a conversation with them, can you imagine what that is actually doing to you when you're having sex with them? And I don't feel like this is talked about anywhere near enough, because for men, and I think that when there's these stories of people being like pussy whipped and stuff like that, because men are wired up to want sex maybe more, it's just a generalisation, it really is just a generalisation, to be controlled by a partner is because you are sharing their energy. If you think about the action, I'm just doing it with my hand without even realising. If you think about that, what is happening, that is how a woman is taking control, taking your energy, like literally sucking the life out of you. That's how the energy transfer works. So if you're feeling depleted when you're with your partner, and I don't mean as in like you're falling asleep, like pleasured and you've enjoyed yourself, you fall asleep. I mean like feeling like you would not be able to get up and feeling worthless and really low self-esteem, then that woman is sucking your energy out of you, literally. And then for the woman on the other side, a man is depositing in you, whether he's actually ejaculating inside you or not, because he is penetrating, he's putting his energy inside you. So if you have a really low vibing man who you're letting have sex with you and you're feeling down all the time, that is the reason why. Like honestly, the magnitude of having sex with someone is massive and should be talked about so much more. And there's loads of information on websites and things on the internet. I'm not going to go into all that kind of stuff, but as I said, this is just a really brief overview, and I just want to finish off by saying that I am an extremely disciplined person. I always have been. If there's a goal to me, I will do my best to get there. And I gave myself a goal and I feel like I've surpassed it. I feel like I've achieved so much in these 2 years. And I'm really proud of my celibacy, and I feel like I would like to fly a little celibacy flag and I will talk about it more. If you have any questions, please comment below and I will do more videos. If you want to go over to my Instagram account, you can always DM me there. Yeah, I'm going to talk about this kind of stuff more. I feel like there's just so much to say in regards to the subject, and yeah, I hope that helps.